Not really sure what that means. Yes, dude. That thing is destroyed. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today, we're going to be working on this guy. This is a 2011 f250 6.7 Power Stroke. And keeping true to this channel, it doesn't run. Let me show you. Warnings. Look at all these warnings. So yeah, as you can see, she's seen some better days. I've already done a couple of things to this. I got some new batteries in it. I put a new starter on it because it seemed like it was cranking a little slow. I put a breaker bar on the crankshaft and I rotated it, and it's really hard to rotate. Also, while you're cranking, you can kind of hear it. Sounds like it kind of knocks. And my expert diagnosis is that we have some spun bearings. I guess if you want to see what it looks like, I mean, it's a truck. It's 2011. It's XLT, so it's nothing super fancy. It's got a ripped seat. It's definitely used as a work truck. All right, it's pretty dirty. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. It's got 188,000 miles on it. It also has no bed. These wheels I put on it because the other ones were flat. Somebody chopped the wiring for the rear taillights. It has airbags, but this is what under the hood looks like. Very nice, very nice. It is all factory. It still has an EGR, and then back there it still has a DPF as well. So everything's factory. We're not deleted. Kind of eliminates some of my troubleshooting. I got a scan tool, I put it on there. There's nothing crazy going on as far as codes go. That could be because it doesn't run. I'm not really sure. I think that it has spun bearings, and that's why it cranks slow, and that's why it sounds like it's knocking. So I think we need to take this out of here and possibly rebuild if we can, or we're gonna have to buy a new block and crank from Ford. But yeah, we'll determine that when the time comes. So you might be asking yourself, why did I buy this, right? It's clearly not because I don't have enough vehicles in the driveway, because I don't even have room for all of my vehicles in the driveway at the moment. So the idea was actually just a little seed in my brain, and it was that this Bronco here has bad gears or bad synchros for the transmission in 2 and 3. The computer is messed up as well, so it idles at 1,000 RPM, which makes it really hard to drive, especially when you're trying to skip around those gears that already have problems. Yeah, it's obnoxious. So the idea was to auto swap that with an E4OD, which means I kind of need a donor truck because I need an E4OD, I need the wiring, I need the computer, I need a couple other things for it as well. So I got to thinking, wouldn't it be really cool if you could put a 10R140 behind a 2020 6.7 behind a 7.3? Like, that would be incredible. Like, all around, it would just be like a really cool thing to have. And you'd have 10 gears. Like, who else has 10 gears behind a 7.3? Like, that's awesome. So yeah, and then that kind of was like, oh, that's the thing that might happen eventually. There's nobody that makes controllers for it. It'd be really hard to fab up a plate. Next best thing, something popped up on Facebook Marketplace. It was a 6.0 Power Stroke. He was parting it out as a work truck. All he wanted was the axles. And I have axles. So I was like, yo, what if I give you a set of these axles and I get your truck, and the idea was to 6.0 swap the Bronco. That's been done a couple times. I've seen a couple people on the internet that have 6.0 swapped OBS Fords. And that's pretty cool. My buddy has a 6.0 and it's pretty fast and it's a lot of fun. Like, it's way faster than a 7.3. These things are slow and old, but fun. Like, I love them, right? That deal fell through, right? It didn't happen. And then 2 days later, this guy pops up on Marketplace. Great deal. I drove about an hour away. My biggest concern was the fuel system, right? Everyone knows on a 6.7 Power Stroke, when the fuel system goes, you're in for a $6,000 or $7,000 bill. No matter what, you gotta replace the injectors, you gotta replace the line, you gotta replace the pump. As of the making of this video, S&S Diesel, S&S Performance, has just released a new pump that replaces the CP4. Really interested in that. That would be super cool to have. Yeah, so if the fuel system did go, that's probably the route I would go. So we're talking a few $1,000s, you know, $5,000, $6,000 to get that, to get a replacement kit to fix that, right? So the first thing I checked. That checked out great. I pulled off the little valve, or the little sensor on top of the CP4. No shavings in the fuel whatsoever. I was like, okay, worst case scenario, we're talking spun bearing. So yeah, that's the idea. We're gonna put drivetrain out of this inside of that, and I think it's gonna be super cool. I don't think anyone else has a 6.7 swapped Bronco. Maybe. I know there's a 6.0 Bronco being built right now. But yeah, nobody has a 6.7 swapped Centurion Bronco, and why not be the first? I know we're kind of on a budget here, and we're working out of a garage, so my fabrication skill, it's not gonna be like some SEMA quality, but it'll be good enough, and I think it'll be super cool. Either that or we're just gonna ruin the value of the truck, and I'm gonna have 2 trucks that are worth $2,000 in total, so. But I'm willing to take that risk. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna start ripping this guy apart. So yeah, basically everything I just did, well, minus taking off the core support, is what I did earlier to get down to this. And you pull this off. I think these are 2 T25 bolts right here on either side. You can pull this out and it should be nice and clean instead of full of metal flakes. So yep, that looks good. All right, so this is what I've devised for our lifting adapter here. It might be a little goofy because these bolts go in kind of sideways and not straight up and down. There's a little gap here. I don't know if that's gonna affect how this thing comes up or if those bolts break or if we break this engine because it drops, but yeah. Also, my welds are questionable, but they're here and I think they'll work. So to build the lifting adapter, I ended up using this from my local auto parts store. It's just a little lift plate for a carbureted engine, and then I cut the actual piece off of here that had the holes in it. And then I just bought a 1/4 inch piece of steel. I think it's mild steel. And then I just welded that piece on there, so I have 3 hooks. All the lifting adapters I've seen online, they hook back here, so that's where we're gonna hook, is in the back. I think that's the center of gravity. If not, we'll set it back down and we'll figure it out. But yeah, I think now she's ready to come out for the most part. The only thing I did was take the fan off and then the CCV box over there. And then I disconnected this battery cable because it looks like it runs with the engine. This one's already over here. PCM cables gonna go with the engine as well. So yeah, I think at this point we're ready to go. I already got the transmission bolts. The only thing we're waiting on is the engine mount bolts now. So they go in opposite directions. So the one on the passenger side goes in from the front, the one on the driver's side goes in from the rear. So yeah, I'm gonna hook up this hoist, put a little pressure on that lift adapter that I made and see if it can hold up, I guess. So yeah, I guess if we're lifting the truck, then it's strong enough. I don't know, we'll find out. All right, so last night we had to stop on this because it started getting dark and there was a couple of weird things that I ran into. Well, not weird, just me being dumb. One thing I failed to do was disconnect the torque converter bolts, which I guess is fine in some applications, but here there's so little room between your K-member and your oil pan that you can't come far enough to pull the TC with it. So I disconnected that this morning. Another thing I did was I removed our cab mounts and I put a leaf block in here. It's probably 4 inches. And I unbolted the ones right in front of your feet on the inside the cab. So now we have a little bit extra room back here, and hopefully we can clear the K-member. I might have to pull the mounts off of the frame down there because it looks like it's gonna hit, but yeah, so far we're disconnected. We're pulled up a little bit. Torque converter is disconnected. We're separated from the trans there. So yeah, I think we're ready to pull this out. Let's give it another try. Well, that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is how you pull a 6.7 in your driveway. So we had a couple more issues than I initially thought we would, but that's okay. Also, one large issue, if you can see, is my hook's not far enough forward. So it causes a little bit of balancing issues, but I think that'll be okay when we put it down on the ground. I don't have a stand yet because no one in town has the stand that I want. So for now, we're just gonna set it on some blocks and the oil pan, and that should at least get us started. I'll have it hooked up to this for safety. But we should be able to get the heads off for now, and then some of the accessories off the front, and then I might be able to flip it over after that and get the pan off. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do next. We're gonna work on getting this in the garage and then making it a little bit lighter. I think it might have a front main seal leak. I don't know. That's my expert diagnosis on that one. It's a little dirty. Other than that, it looks pretty good. Aside from the fact that it's so hard to turn over. Watch, I'll show you real quick. Yeah, like it doesn't spin smooth. It makes some atrocious noises. Something tells me this thing's done. And engine harness. Pretty fancy. I'll forget how that goes, but there it is. Sure what that means. So there is a special tool for getting these injectors out, but I found online that you could just flip this over and just tap it. If you can hold it still. And it'll push your injectors right out, just like that. Although it does mar the valve cover a little bit, so be careful there, I guess. And then you're also going to want to keep track of where these go, because your computer is programmed, or these each have their own like strategy, I guess. And then your computer in your truck knows where each one is, so it'll fire it and trim it properly. Yeah. You can also find those numbers on top of the CCV box, which sits on this side, on the driver's side head. And if you have a scan tool, you can find them inside your computer. So you can also do that with ForeScan. So you don't have to have anything super sophisticated. Yeah, let's pull these guys out. A little bit, I'd say they're probably as long as a 7.3 injector. Definitely way thinner, right? And probably way more delicate. So we're not going to drop these. Update on this guy, it broke in half. So I don't know if that's better or worse than it being ruined threads. I'd assume better, but this is gonna be, I feel like, really hard to get out of there. But at least I'll be able to get this valve cover off relatively easily. So yeah, let's continue. Ready to see the carnage? Hopefully there is no carnage. Little head, baby. That is substantially lighter than a 7.3's. All right, I think it looks good. There's a lot of soot on some of these, but I mean, it's a diesel, so whatever. These boards look all right. Nothing crazy. Yeah, smells like a diesel. So let's look at the bottom of the head. Also looks pretty good. This valve looks different than all the rest. Maybe that's just because it has water on it. Yeah, I think the head's good, aside from the injector bolt, of course. Yeah, guess I'll just pull that one off now. All right, so I guess on 2011s, probably 2012 also, like when they changed this oil pan, these oil coolers have a stud that goes through the oil pan, and then there's a nut on the inside here. It feels like a 13. It is indeed a 13. Boom, just like that. There we go. All right, so it just has dowels. And that's why it's hard to get off. There we go. Yeah, buddy. All right, so straight out the gate, you can see maybe there's a split line right here where your cam bearings are. Or yeah, the crank bearings, not cam bearings. But the front one, number one, definitely spun. You can't really tell with some of these others, but they look not good. Like that one's like munchy. The one in there's a little munchy. That one looks like it might be okay. The rear one looks fine. It's not. Yeah. So I don't know about all these guys. That one is probably dead. Oh, yes, dude. That thing is destroyed. Oh, yeah, look at it. Oh man, she's done. Yeah, she's done. All right, let's oh man, why do I do this to myself? All right, let's see what the other one looks like here. Where's my hammer at? That one's a bearing, a spun bearing, but there's a bearing in there. This is exactly why you use the right oil that's suggested by your manufacturer. And then you also change it in the correct intervals. Cause that dude's gone. And this crank is probably done. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Doesn't end, it never ends. Look at that. This is groovy. Look at how far that thing moved. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, the rear one made it. We have 1 out of 5 not spin. That's impressive. That is impressive. All right, well, there you have it. That's pretty much all I have for this video. I can't really do anything until I find replacement parts, so I will say that this compared to a 7.3, if you plan on buying a non-running 6.7, not quite like the 7.3 days where you can pretty much make anything work, or find them in a junkyard anywhere. At least around me, 6.7s aren't anywhere in a junkyard. I think there's one, and it's already picked all the way through. So, and it probably has the same problem, to be honest. But yeah, with a 7.3, you pick them up all day long, $1,000 a piece. Most of the time they're good, or if they're bad, they will run for another 90,000 miles. Like, yeah. So if you're thinking about buying a non-running 6.7, just remember this image in your head, and maybe that will deter you from making such a decision. Or you could be like me and pretty much know that the bearings are spun and do it anyway, Why not? Yeah. So I guess next step is to source a short block, a long block, see what Ford's got. Maybe see if anyone on Marketplace got one, or eBay at some point. Decide how much I want to pay, spend on all this, and yeah, we'll go from there. I hope you guys learned something valuable in this video. If you have any questions about anything, leave it in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer it. So yeah, see you guys in the next one.